Yeah. So.
I mean, it's not like anyone's going to notice I started over, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, here we go.
Hello and welcome to another Innovate San Diego live event. We are so glad everybody made it out today. My name is Zach Robb. I am the co-founder of the Insight Shopping app, helping you guys connect with your local businesses here in San Marcos. We have an amazing guest speaker tonight. I am super excited for everything that he is doing here in San Marcos, and he's going to tell us the story of how he got his company going and the story behind the legend. Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, John Dixon.
Okay. I'm John Dixon. Thank you very much for having me this evening. It's nice to be here. So let's get started. So once upon a time, no, just kidding. Zach said start at the beginning, don't leave anything out. So you can see the next slide. So on my mom's side of the family, sadly, the first to be born passed away before they were a month old. For 3 generations. I'm the first person to survive that month test. In fact, when my mom found out she was pregnant with me, she started taking the natal vitamins, she started eating extra special good foods, healthy lifestyle, and I was born at 10 pounds, 3 ounces. And considering she's only 5'2", that was an accomplishment. So I was the first to survive, but then again, time changes everything, and I honestly don't know what happened either. Just as we go on. Some of my other family members, and I almost turned the far picture on the right to black and white, but I didn't want you to miss that patriotic red, white, and blue homemade vest. Isn't that sharp?
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess that's probably around the 70s. And some more of my family. And if you want to know everything about me, I really should have brought my dog, Jojo, because she's normally with me when I'm drinking beer. She sits on bar stools, people give her treats, they pet her. The world loves Jojo. Now to the good stuff. That was enough background. Didn't mean to be too silly, but I wanted you to know a little bit about me. And I left out the part. I grew up in Dallas, just north of Dallas, small town. Denton. Well, actually, I grew up in a small town north of Dallas, south of Denton, in Argyle. Population around 7,000. So it was a tiny, tiny place. But anyway, this is my grandmother. Her name was Winona Skelton. She lived to be 109. Just kidding, 99. And her mother lived to be 102. So I have some nice genes in the family, I hope. Watering the garden is what's on the slide. So one day I've traveled back to Arkansas to visit my grandmother, and I'm watering the garden. I'm watering the garden, and I'm having a blast because it's relaxing, it's stress-free, I'm off the grid. And my grandmother comes over and goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm watering the garden." "You don't need to do that." I said, "I am here 3 to 4 times a year. I want to help you. I want to water the garden." She said, "Okay, water the garden." I water the garden. My mind is everywhere. I'm thinking about everything but what I'm doing. I'm watering the garden. Then I'm looking around, I can't find my grandmother. She was pulling weeds and straightening bricks around the planter boxes. Couldn't find her anywhere. So I'm watering the garden. And then I feel a hand on my shoulder. She said, "Sweetheart, please, don't water the garden anymore." "Why?" "Well, tomorrow we were going to till it under because the garden's done." So this section I'm calling Know Your Target. If I had known we were tilling the garden tomorrow, I wouldn't have watered it. But it was great therapy, and it's a characteristic of my grandmother. Make other people happy. Some people would say don't shoot the messenger. She let me do the wrong thing because I was enjoying it. So that was really cool. And then on the next slide we have on the radio. Can we go back one?
Oh, go up.
There we go. on the radio. So my grandmother's in a very tiny town, and she's 99 years old. So when they have trivia questions, it's not trivia on the radio. She lived through it. She knows Truman's dog's name, Buzz. She knows everything because she's lived through it and has a sharp, sharp mind. One day we're in the grocery store, and she says, John Carl, I wasn't going to give you my middle name, but anyway, it's out now. So, would you mind giving me some of that dish soap on the top shelf? I can't quite reach it. So, Mom, Grandma, do you want the blue one or the yellow one? She says, I'll take the blue one. And I reach to grab the blue one, and she says, oh, not that anti-my whatever. I'm not sending my germs to the gym. I just want soap. So anyway, so I get the right soap, and from the next aisle over, we hear this woman shout out, is that Winona from the radio? I've got to meet you. And she comes running around the aisle like my grandmother's celebrity. And actually, she is a celebrity in that town because she calls and she sells things online. She does a classified ad in DeQueen, Arkansas, and she sells items she no longer needs or wants. Or she made a quilt, or she made, let's say she made some plants, she grew plants, and she'd sell them online. So it was really, really cool. Winona on the radio is quite famous, and I'm sure they're missing her as much as I am. So let's go to the next one. JoJo goes to all the breweries, but she can't drink like she used to. She's just out zonked. And then going through some old photographs, I found this one with me, and I guess that's a Pabst Big Boy that I'm drinking. So I started drinking at an early age. Let's get rid of this. I don't know if that should have been there or not. So the next one is spicy carrots. So I go to my grandmother's house. She's a great cook. She has a huge garden because that's what you did. You raised the food. In fact, when she was a little girl, they raised chickens, and they would trade produce and chickens to the family across the way that raised a pig. So it was very farm to table before it was even fashionable. So spicy carrots. Go to my grandmother's house. I said, do you think we could make spicy carrots? I don't know. I've never done that. Well, it's kind of like a jalapeno and a little spice. It's pickly, it's vinegary, it's got onions, and I think it's oregano in it. Sure, I've got all that. Let's do it. But I'm not cutting the carrots. So I sit down and I start cutting and peeling carrots, and we make them. And they're horrible. They're not hot. They're not spicy. They're not vinegary. They are boring. And she says, well, if I'd known they're supposed to be hot, once again, know your target, we would have made them hotter. She says, I've got hot stuff. So I said, well, we can make some more, I guess, but how we tell them apart? And she looked at me like I was just a dork. She goes, cut them a different way. And at that moment, she takes me over to the pantry. She pulls back the fabric door, very, very low income lifestyle, and she has pickles. The spears, she says, now those are obviously dill. These with the onions are bread and butter. And all the different shapes are different flavors, although they're all pickles.
Oh, wow.
I was like, that's a pretty smart idea. Mexican menu, know your target. This is a personal experience. I almost put it on a different slide. Woman comes in, they're opening a Mexican restaurant. We have helped hundreds of businesses launch. In fact, Zach came to us when they were first starting their software. They needed something to do a presentation over at the university. And then we did business cards and postcards and banners, silk screen t-shirts for them. We've done a lot of stuff for them, and it's very, very common. I love brainstorming with new clients or clients that actually have a problem and need some assistance. So, Mexican menu. She comes in and describes her restaurant, and I interview her. I add extra descriptions to her menu items, and I create a beautiful menu. It's stunning. It's big pages, glossy, photographs of the food. It's in the ballpark. Well, in the stands, I guess, because I hit it out of the ballpark. It's gorgeous.
It's out of the ballpark.
For some reason, she couldn't come pick it up. I can't remember the reason she had, but I offered to deliver them. I delivered the menus. to essentially a taco stand. It could have been black and white ink on yellow paper and it had been just as good. My menus looked like a sit-down, tablecloth, waitress kind of establishment because I didn't ask enough questions and I didn't know the target. So that's the Mexican menu. Next. Well, everyone thinks their grandma's the best, but there was actually a competition and mine won. Next. Oh, this is good. This is California. If you're unfamiliar, that's actually part of Carlsbad. And a few years ago, back in 2017, I was asked to do a 1-minute presentation on sales. And I brought it with me. So I'd like to recite it now if I may. Okay, I'm going to read it. Do you own a piece of coastline? For $3, you can. Many people dream of it and have never taken the first step. True, this is an average beach stone. It's been abused by the salt, the sea, and the air for thousands of years. The imperfections on the surface give an indication of the rough life this poor rock has led. Even though it was living on the coast, it's not always better. This specific rock was selected from one of the most expensive coastlines of all of California. Its abstract shape, smooth lines, and rich warm colors make it beautiful to behold. You can almost say it's beautiful. This particular stone is ready for a much easier life, however. Maybe weighting down some papers on a desk with a little bit of the afternoon sun coming in to keep it warm. Or maybe to prop open that door that always closes at the most inopportune moment, like the middle of a horror story. Maybe you just want to help a guy out. I left the house today with a lot of rocks to sell. This is my last rock I need to sell. It's from the coastline of California. So you would own a piece of Southern California real estate for just $3, and I would be done selling rocks. Thank you very much. I really like it. It's a little silly, but if you know me at all, that's me. Remember to be, I want to give some helpful tips and tricks. I've been doing this a long time. Online I'm only 54, but in real life I'm a little older than that by a few years. But anyway, I think I look good for my age, so I'm going to live with 54. Teachability. If I tried to share something with you and you're closed up, that's your deal. But if you want to expand and grow and do everything that you can, people say, oh, I'm not a computer person. Well, as long as you keep saying that, you are correct. And there's so many things we can learn from other people because either they've done it, they're trying to do it, maybe they failed. Just ask questions. Teachability is very, very important. The silver buyer. I had a sterling silver table at Kobe's swap meet because I was tired of corporate America selling jewelry in the mall. I quit my job. After everything was deducted from my future paycheck, I got $75. And I went to LA and I bought $75 in silver and convinced the guy to let me borrow a scale. Since I was buying by weight, I sold it by weight. Just marked it up. I didn't have price tags on everything. I just waited for the customer. One afternoon, after Kobe swap meet, about 6 months, I opened a store on Adams Avenue, the corner of Adams Avenue and 30th. And then about 6 months, I expanded a little bit. And this elderly woman came in with her little jacket and her little hat, hunched over farther. Her nose was almost on the shelf holding the jewelry. Oh, you have some beautiful things here. Too bad you only have one buyer. Yeah, they're all so lovely. You have one buyer though. That's a problem. Excuse me? There's one buyer? Oh yes. Are you going to confirm that for me? Yes, I bought everything. I can tell. It all looks like the same person picked it out. Because they're all so similar. What would make you an authority on buying? Well, I was a buyer for Nordstrom's for 25 years, and none of my items ever went to the clearance rack. I bought things that I loved, only about 20%. Things that I absolutely hated, about 20%. And the other 80%, I don't give a shit. Put it in the order. Here's this really nice lady in a suit, and she says she didn't give a shit. I was shocked. Anyway, I instantly took her advice, because I'm teachable. I went back. The ugliest ring I've ever seen was a dragon, multiple joint ring with little antennae or antlers or horns or whatever are on dragons. Oh God, it was ugly. And it was heavy, so it was expensive. I said, I'll take one of those. And all of a sudden in the back of my head, I heard, I bought 20% of the things I couldn't stand. So I bought 20 of those ugly rings. They were gone the first weekend.
Wow.
When I went back, I couldn't get any more. So that's my silver buyer story. She was a lovely lady, and she taught me so much in about 3 minutes. It was amazing. I loved her.
Wow.
Which is next. This is all about being teachable, and I think I am that person. Remember to be teachable. This story is about only the shadows. I will try to step out of the way a little bit. I apologize for the video. It's a little difficult to see. On one side I have a picture of my red stapler. Don't move it. Do not move my red stapler. But there are shadows all over it because I'm taking the picture with a cell phone. And I'm right on top of it. I'm at the brewery, and this little kid about 6 goes, "Excuse me, sir, can I teach you something?" "Sure." He takes my phone, he raises it up in the air, zooms in on the subject, and says, "Now there's no shadow." And that's exactly what I did there. So here's with the regular phone with the shadow all across the top of it. This is the same one on Zoom, and there's no shadow. It's a great tip that I learned from a 6-year-old. You gotta be teachable.
Nice.
Learn from experience. That may say your own up at the top. I can't tell.
It does.
Gosh, experiences. I think I want to share something where I really bombed. Like when I told someone they could have 19,000 labels by the end of day. And then I found out that the labels were 3 times the size I thought they were. So it was going to take much, much longer to make. We didn't make it. The labels weren't done until about midnight. And they're supposed to be in New York the following day. But luckily, there's one more person flying out to New York, out of LA. So I drove to LAX and met that person, handed them the labels, handed them the labels, and then they made the trip. And I made the deadline. It was scary, but I did it.
Wow.
The next one I think says, learn from villagers. Oh my gosh. Think back. Well, we weren't alive then, but think back farther. Before cell phones, before TVs, before grocery stores, and you're a villager, and you go out rummaging for food, and you find this really cool thing, and you eat it, and then you die because it's not edible. It happens. It happened probably a lot. They didn't have telephones. They didn't have the evening news. They didn't have newspapers, internet, Yelp. They didn't have it, so they died. There was no way to communicate, don't eat this. So the next time you watch some of those stupid videos on the internet where someone's slamming their face into a pole, they're humorous. They are. I myself have laughed. It's true. You shouldn't. He's trying to teach you something. Don't do this because it's not going to work out. You're going to have 1 million followers for all the wrong reasons. So let's look at the next one. Oh, this one's tough. Learning from my mom. Learning from your mom. Most people have a mom, I think. Stepmom, adopted mom, regular mom, birth parent, doesn't matter. They're all the same. When I first started doing graphic arts and writing copy for clients because they cannot describe their own products, but yet they want a brochure, I would call my mom and go, I need another word for smooth. And she would simply tell me, I need more information. Well, it's a surfboard, and it's really slick, and it's new technology, and we would sit there and brainstorm together for hours rewriting copy. I would send her, well, later I sent her pictures, but previously I would just describe things, and she would help me write the words to describe this item that she had never seen. So it was a really unique experience. It was a lot of fun. The other thing I want to share, learning from my mom, this last January I had the privilege, well, at the moment it wasn't a privilege, she was packing to move to Florida. And she'd lived in the same house since 1968. And there was a lot of stuff everywhere. She has every greeting card that's ever been given to her. She has more cookbooks than you can imagine. Most of them, you can tell, have never been opened. There's no sauces or flour on any of them. I think they're just for aesthetics. I say I had the privilege of working with her because every time she picked up an item, she would look at it and goes, "Oh, I remember this when your dad gave it to me." My mom kind of sounds like the lady from the jewelry store, huh?
Yeah.
That was funny. Back when your dad gave this to me, I loved him. Mom, that's not really the case right now. Do you want to take this to Florida, or are we going to leave it here in Dallas? Oh, I'm not taking that to Florida. I don't want it. I don't even like it. Anyway, I say it was a privilege because she moved to Florida, health conditions got worse, and she ended up passing away this last August. And that was pretty difficult. She's an awesome woman. I love her to death. And I can't talk more about it because crying on TV or internet or cell phone sounds horrible. So I had the privilege or the duty of notifying everyone that my mom had passed. My mom was standing in the pharmacy. She was a pharmacy technician and had been for 30 years. She was one of the first women ever to take the course in Texas that she helped create. Let me explain. The management of the store would send back a checker from the grocery department to help them in pharmacy, but they had no training. They didn't know what they were doing. Mom said there needed to be a training class for pharmacy technicians. So they instigated a program in the store. Then they notified the state of Texas what they were doing. My mother got recognized for creating or instigating such a project. And now in Texas, it's a licensed position. You have to go to school for it. So it's pretty cool to have some knowledgeable people passing out drugs. That came out a little wrong. But anyway, so yeah, my mom at the age of 42 got letters at the end of her name. She was one of 50 people to take the test and one of only 5 to pass it. So she knew her stuff. I'm really proud of her. When I called, one day she was at work, and she looked over to her pharmacist in charge and said, I feel odd. I think I'm going to go see Dr. Kaplan, which was the cardiologist in town, the best cardiologist. And he said, Nita, if you feel that bad, we need to call an ambulance. I'm not leaving my car in the parking lot overnight. So she took her little Toyota Celica and drove herself to the hospital, or to the doctor's office. And the doctor ran a few tests, and lo and behold, she was either having a panic attack, a stroke, or a heart attack. And he escorted her across the parking lot to the hospital right then and there. We all believe Dr. Kaplan saved my mom's life. And when I notified him that she had passed, he had this to say: Nita entered the room with a positive attitude no matter what we told her. And she left a trail of smiles. Everyone in the office loved her. She was a great woman. And Nita will truly be missed for being a wonderful, wonderful person. At first I thought he said that to all of the grieving survivors. He says, I meant that. I have to go because I'm about to cry. God has loved her. Well, not love loved her. He was a patient.
He's a
Doctor
patient.
patient. No, not the game. I mean, cardiac. Forget it. Chameleons and changelings. In business, it is important for you to be a leaf. You want to stroll down the river. All of a sudden something techie comes out. You need to learn a little bit about it. because you do not want to become a leaf that's behind that big boulder just swirling around waiting for decay. It's just not a good idea. So I have positioned myself, I'll explain this differently. When printers became really inexpensive and you could put a color laser printer on your desk for about $300, we started branching out to do other things. I do silk screening, I do embroidery, I do stickers, coasters for restaurants and bars. So we started expanding the things we do to keep the revenue stream flowing. One thing you want to do when you're running down the middle of the river really fast and it's harder than hell to keep up, there might be a couple of things ahead of you, like going over the cliff. We did that a couple of times. I oversold past production capabilities. We had to do refunds, we brought in more people, and we still had to do more refunds, and we just had to regroup because it got out of control. Success can kill you if you're unprepared for it. You've really got to make sure that all of your systems are rock solid before you mail 10,000 postcards. That'd be learning from your own experiences, part 2, I guess. And then the other one is, if you're racing off the end of the cliff and dying, you might also be racing off the end of the cliff to land in Mirror Lake with a nice, soft, beautiful retirement with waitresses and cocktails. All right, well, hopefully. I'm not there yet. So, and then next on the list, I believe, is getting wedged. This leaf is wedged on a rock. It's going to sit there until it just dehydrates, dries up, and blows away. And sadly, because of COVID, that's exactly what happened to a lot of businesses. They didn't adapt, they couldn't move quick enough, or they weren't able to. COVID hit at an opportunity time because the economy was down a little bit and things were already tight. And for some, it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. It was too much. But here's my solution idea, and I think this is a great one because I wrote it. 80-20 rule, we've all heard of it. 80% of your sales come from 20% of your products. 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your clients. And I know in my office, 80% of the work gets done by 20% of the staff. So the 80-20 rule works everywhere. But here's a different way to look at it. At the end of the year, take the 20 products that didn't sell and discontinue them. Bring in 20 new products and see how they do in the following period. Whether it's quarter, biannually, yearly, that's up to you. But if it's not selling, discontinue it. And by all means, if you own a restaurant, 86 all menu items that need one ingredient uniquely to that recipe. If you can't use that ingredient on other dishes, you don't need that item on the menu. It's a food cost that's going to kill you.
That was an excellent.
This is working interestingly.
Oh.
It just auto-completed to the end.
Oh.
Back again.
Oh, okay. I see what you did.
Okay,
Okay, wait.
there we go. One forward.
It just.
Oh, hold on. Hold on.
Does it jump by itself?
Yeah. Is it okay if we just leave it?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah,
That way
this is
we'll-
fine.
Okay.
So, I feel like I'm already over on time. I've had a great time being here, but I need to tell you about me and what we do. So, I currently work at Biz Print and Promo. We have managed through the years to bring in a printer, a sign maker, an embroiderer, promotional products, web developer, a consultant, all under one roof. So when we get your logo, there's nothing we can't get without your name on it. We don't make all of it in-house, but things like a custom lanyard and a backstage VIP pass made in 48 hours is something we can do. Let's look at the next one.
The box is huge. The boxes are huge.
Thank you.
You want those custom boxes? They're huge.
Hey, she's saying the boxes are awesome.
I love
think,
the boxes.
because she's way over there, and I'm over here.
I don't know why.
I love the boxes, John.
Thank you. So here are some of the items. We're having an issue with the slideshow. I'm not for sure what's going on. I've never made a PowerPoint presentation, so this is the first one. But these are some of the items we can do. Polo shirts, caps, directional signs, QR code, destinations. That was really important during COVID because now all of a sudden you can't have menus. And you're serving people outside. They don't know what you have. So we created a QR code. We printed the stickers, put them on the tables, and then we created digital menus online so they could see what they were. And then taught the restaurants how to update the pages on their own, which is pretty cool. I like that idea a lot. The product lasered gifts, I have a couple of those items here. This is how we do every job in our office. Ask a question. A typical printer says, oh, you want 50? Thank you, goodbye. That's stupid. It's important to know how are they using the form. Do they need 1 copy or 2 copies typically? Sometimes they need 3. Is it written out by hand every time, or are they going to put it into a computer and print it? So we'll ask a lot of questions to make sure we understand how the item is being used. It also tells us what kind of material to use and how to print it. If I can understand what you're going to do with it, we can make the proper suggestions. Then we create the creative in-house, which is very nice, and then we produce the product, whatever it may be. Not all production is done in office, but I would say a good 90% is done in office. And the next slide, I was trying to be cute, and it says, then collect, or and collect.
I don't know.
I don't know what's going on there. It's a couple of jokes.
There it is. There it is.
It's a couple of jokes. On the next slide, it actually says,
It jumps on its own.
it says that,
There we go. Let's see if I
can we fix this in post?
Yeah, we'll edit this out.
So on the next slide, it says that Biz Promo is powered by Levi's, Diet Coke, and Apple. Whenever I get to work, I plug in all my Apple products. I've got my Diet Coke and I sit behind the Mac all day. And then the next slide was actually showing us the next slide is showing us that that's all just a joke, and we use an outstanding product called Pipe Drive. It is a CRM, and when I was testing CRMs, I actually downloaded or imported all of my clients and used them for 2 weeks. And for one reason or another, I didn't like all of them. Pipe Drive was promising, but their search wasn't working properly, and I offered to become a beta tester for them. They wanted to tell me that their search engine was written by Google, but yet when I searched for brewing, it didn't show up brewing unless it was the first word in the company name. So they had some work to do. I'm proud to report 3 or 4 years later, they're done. They've had angel investors. It's an amazing product. And I wrote CRM meets Google. It actually connects to your Google Drive for all your images and storage. It reads all of your email and it organizes it in timelines. So if you sent an email or a text message or an invoice even, it's all in the timeline for you to see what is going on. It's an amazing product. There's a QR code. If you go there, they will actually give you a month free trial with no credit card as opposed to a 2-week trial. And you're also welcome to call and ask me any questions on how to use it because I'm behind it every day. Thank you very much for the time. Once again, my name is John Dixon from Biz Print Promo, and hopefully I can brand something for you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, John, for sharing your words of wisdom. Again, John with Biz Print and Promo, he does a lot of our t-shirts, he does all of our print banners, and he does pretty much any and everything you could possibly need for print marketing, advertising, children's books, and So yeah, we appreciate John's been with us since the very beginning, and he is super amazing. So be sure to check them out. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys on the next episode of Innovate San Diego. Thank you.